Well, hello. So it's funny, I'm not actually recording an official video, even though this is my normal background, but I just wanted to give a little bit of an intro for this vlog. So welcome to the vlog, welcome to my channel. My name is Maddie, mattwiz19, and I'm actually going to be doing something really special for this vlog. So over at Olivia Reed's Latte, I believe her name is. I'll have her in the description down below. But she is doing, along with another YouTuber, a very special readathon for the week of July 2nd to July 8th, where she's doing what's called Summerween. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I love Halloween. Like, Halloween, October is my favorite time of year. I love it so much. I really wish it could be Halloween for many months besides just Halloween. And it, you know, in a sense, it is kind of Halloween in our house quite a bit. We don't have decorations per se, but we just love talking about Halloween. We love listening to music that reminds us of Halloween. Seeing that there is a readathon for a week called Summerween, and to give me an excuse to read scary books and to like do a couple like Halloween-esque events during the week in a summer month, it just gives me a reason to want to, like, I don't know, to do it, you know. It gives me an excuse to be able to do it. And plus, this month is my birthday. Obviously not the whole month, just like, you know, the end of July is my birthday. But I'm really excited. This can be a really fun month, I could already tell. And I, again, am looking for just any excuse to be able to celebrate Halloween, even if it's not the month of Halloween. So, in case you didn't know, Summerween is a readathon where you have a couple different prompts that you have to try and fulfill. You can get several prompts done at the same time. I'll have a list of the prompts displayed here. Basically, I'm planning on reading 2, maybe 3 books during this week. One of them is on my TBR, but the other 2 are not. I actually already had started the one, and I know I'm cheating a little bit with doing that, but I had to get started on it because, as you know, my TBR is very, very big this month. So I really wanted to participate in this, but also be able to still have a chance to finish all the books in my TBR. So I just wanted to quickly go over all the books that I have to read for this readathon, and just kind of give you an idea of like what kind of prompts they fill, and also the overall story and why I consider them Halloween-y. So the book that I had started already, and I consider it to be kind of like the Halloween feel, is Parasite by Darcy. This is the second book that I've read of Darcy. I'm already a little over halfway done with it. I'm going to give a synopsis of what I felt about the stories whenever I'm done with them. So this might be a shorter vlog, I'm not sure. This book is actually a bunch of short stories that she's collected into one book. It is about this alien creature that a station out in outer space, like humanity has kind of traveled out to outer space, and they've been colonizing. They have like these stations that are on moons and other planets, and they're meant to like communicate with each other and to, you know, try and spread humanity throughout the solar system. It takes place, every one of these short stories takes place in a different station. They've been going in order from 331, 332, 333, and it's cataloging the events and what these people that are on the stations are experiencing with this new alien form. Now, humanity has seen aliens before and they've dealt with them, but this alien seems to be very intelligent, and it seems to want to spread. It's like a parasite in that it wants to take over hosts and spread through the hosts of people. It originally starts with this giant blob of a black alien with like these red veins and tentacle things coming out of it, and it seems to kill the person, or at least get close to death, and then infest that person. And then what ends up happening is the person, they look and act exactly as they did before the parasite got to them, and then whatever they're like with another person, another human that isn't infected, their like middle splits open and like these tentacles come out of it. It's freaky. Like, it actually did freak me out in moments. And I just finished one of the short stories that was actually one of the longest ones. I guess these last 2 that I'm reading right now are the longest in the series. But it was very intense, and it seems like every short story kind of adds on to what the alien can do, what the parasite can do, what humanity knows of the parasite through communications between the stations, and just how serious of a threat this is to humanity. And so, this is my first book. It's definitely the horror part of the prompts. I also consider it to be Halloween colors, because I know Halloween is generally considered orange and black, but I've actually seen Halloween colors going towards like green and purple also. And as you can see, this cover has like black and it has like the green lettering, and the design of it actually is pretty freaky with like this globe of I believe it's kind of like a representation of the parasite inside of a person or like as a ball. So I consider this to be kind of like a Halloween color horror look to the cover. So that's the first book that I am reading slash have read for the readathon. The second book, the one that's going to take me a majority of the time in this readathon, is Lisey's Story by Stephen King. So, if you don't know already, I'm trying to read through all the Stephen King books that I own, which is back here. I haven't read all of them, although I own every single Stephen King book he's ever written, except some of the ebooks, which I'm hoping to get in the next month. I really want to get to this book because Apple Plus has this TV show, and I really want to watch it with my partner, so I decided that I really wanted to try and read this as soon as possible, and it kind of works for the like paranormal thriller prompts for. I mean, obviously Stephen King is a horror writer, so I think it fits really well with the prompts regardless, and I'm really excited about it. The description of it is that Lisey is a recent widower because her husband Scott is a celebrated novelist, and he had just recently died. It's taking place 2 years after his death, and you kind of see like the after effects of what Scott's life has brought to Lisey. And a lot of people say that this story is actually kind of comparable to when Stephen King almost died and what his wife Tabitha would have gone through if Stephen King was a lot more of a darker person, and also if it was more realistic. And it's interesting to kind of see those comparisons because he did write this book after, not immediately after, but close to after his accident. And so it's really interesting to see the comparisons, and also I'm just really curious about the story. I really want to read it so that I could watch the show maybe at the end of the month. So this is definitely one that's going to take the majority of the time for the readathon. And then the final book, the reason why it's the final book is because it's actually part of my TBR, and it is Butterfly Lampshade by Aimee Bender. This one's kind of like another psychological thriller of a sort. It seems to be a little bit macabre in that there's the dead animals, and like the kind of curiosity of like why there's a comparison with the dead animals and the main character. And so I thought this would be like a good ending for the readathon because it kind of transitions me into my actual TBR for the month. It's also pretty short, so I might be able to get to it at the very end of the readathon around the 7th, 8th of July, but we'll see. I'm not really too worried about it. If whatever I can read is whatever I can read, although I'm going to try and finish these 2 books definitely in the first week so that I can get to the rest of my TBR. But yes, so I will update you next with my thoughts on Parasite when I'm finished with it. Hello everyone. So I just want to give a quick update. It is now July 2nd, Friday, and I finished last night Parasite by Darcy Coates. It was really, really good. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I think I mentioned briefly the other day that it's a collection of short stories, or like a collection of like novellas kind of things that she wrote to kind of to carry on the theme of these parasites, and it ended up being a lot better than I expected. I was expecting it to be like very individual stories with like just unique concepts of the parasites themselves, but ended up like really building off of each other. Like every story built off of what humanity was to learn about the parasites, and they even gave the parasites a name. I believe they called them cynic parasites, and just to see how the parasites developed, not only growing throughout humanity and kind of spreading, but also how they learned what humanity was learning, and how, I don't know, just how communication spread both through humanity, also through the parasites. So it was a really good story, and I actually really enjoyed it. I kind of wish that there was like 1 or 2 more, and it does not hamper the story in how much she wrote. I just kind of wish that there was a few more, just to kind of show us like what ends up happening, because it does kind of leave you a little bit with a loose end. Like nothing to the point where, like, I gave it 5 stars. I think it was exceptional. It just, I kind of wish that there were a few more stories just to kind of show how much of a problem it ended up becoming. Regardless of that, I loved the story. I gave it 5 stars. It was very freaky. I definitely had some nightmares because of it. I'm really glad that was my first book for Summerween. And now I just started my second book this morning. It's Lisey's Story by Stephen King. I'm really excited to get started on that one some more. I've only read about 50 pages of it, so not much has happened. It is a 650-page book, so not much has happened so far, but it's definitely going to be an interesting story, I think. And I really want to finish reading it so that I can watch the show and get those extra points for the TBR side scroller. So yeah, I'm hoping to get quite a bit more reading of that done today. And I also wanted to quickly show a little bit of developing of the XP bar. So I'm gonna show right here the video. It's about 30 seconds. It's just a quick little video on when I was creating them on Procreate, and it was pretty simple. I tried to make it as simple as possible, but also to kind of give a little bit of, I don't know, an interesting look to when you level up to your character, to kind of give you like a nameplate. And so I created just a very simple XP bar. I developed the I drew out the different bars, the red bars, to show like how far you're getting with the levels. And I also made nameplates for each of the different levels. And I tried to like color code them so that it follows the rainbow order, with the last three being copper, silver, and kind of gold, but with like a star pattern. So I don't know. I thought it was simple, but it was cute, and you're definitely going to be seeing that in future videos. You might have even seen it already if I have the wrap up video come up before this vlog, which I think I will be. So you'll be seeing that in the future, and you'll be seeing that in the leaderboards as well. So yeah, that's as much as I've really gotten done. It's going to be a long weekend because of 4th of July here in America. I'm really excited to kind of have just a long weekend, no work. I'm going to try and get a bunch of reading done, get a bunch of videos done, and just kind of try and relax because it's been a long time since I've been able to actually relax, probably since vacation. So I will update you when I am finished with Lisey's story. Hello everyone. So it is July 8th, Thursday. I know it's been a few days, and it's actually technically the last day of Summerween, but I spent most of the week reading Lisey's story. It took me a little while because it was 650 pages long, so you have to forgive me for that. But it ended up being a amazing book. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I actually just started watching the show on Apple Plus, and so far I've only seen one episode of it, but so far the show is really good too. But I have to say the book definitely, it was really, it's hard to describe because it was really good, but there were a lot of moments in it that I actually ended up tabbing. So I ended up tabbing the whole story, both for quotes that I thought were really interesting, and also like major plot points of the story that I thought like was really important or really like stood out to me. And if you want to actually know more specifically about the book, and like a lot of spoilers are obviously going to be talked about, but if you're really interested in like hearing all of my thoughts about the story, I'm actually gonna be uploading a video that is gonna be different from what I've done before, and it's gonna be like a book review. If you're interested in hearing a lot of thoughts about the book, then I recommend going over to that video, and I'm going to have it linked up here. But yeah, so I finally finished the book. I ended up tabbing it a lot. I actually have it right here. So see, I ended up like, all these are tabs. The yellow ones are quotes, and the purple ones are kind of like important plot points. So yeah, I ended up tapping it a lot, and it took me a little while to read, but I really enjoyed it. And then last night I just started the Butterfly Lampshade, and so far it's not that great. I mean, the plot's interesting. It's just the way that the narration is told. It's really long. It's a little boring to me, and there are some scenes that are written in a way that is kind of confusing, in that it's a dialogue between the little girl, and someone else. It was like between the mother at one point, between a babysitter, and it's kind of confusing that like each line is a different person, and there's no quotations or anything. It's just text of what they say, and it's a little awkward, honestly. But I'm only a third of the way through the book so far, and I'm hoping to finish it today, since it's the last day of Summerween anyway. But it's definitely a psychological thriller about this girl that eats a butterfly and seems to be going crazy because of it, and her mom is also like mentally unstable, and so she's kind of, I don't know if it's like a mental illness that's passed down between the mother and the daughter, or if it's something more supernatural, and that eating the butterfly made her unstable. And she's even said that she's eaten a cockroach too, and I think that like really tipped her over, and that she acts normal, but her like way of thinking isn't quite right. I'm not really sure yet. Like I said, I've only read a third of the book so far, but I'm gonna hopefully finish it tonight and see what my final thoughts are. And I also wanted to quickly mention that I had thought about it, and I'm going to try and fit in, I know my TBR was really big this month, but I'm gonna also try to fit in a bunch of sci-fi books, because the booktuber Steph Loves, she's doing what she's calling Sci-Fi July, which is like this bingo sheet. I'll show the bingo sheet right here. It has a bunch of prompts for different sci-fi type books, and it's just a very low-key kind of readathon of a sort, that she's doing throughout the month. I thought it was interesting. I already read Parasite, which is technically a sci-fi horror, And I was thinking of reading a graphic novel anyway that kind of fits with some of these prompts. So I'm gonna see what I can fill in throughout the month, and I'll talk about them in these reading vlogs and kind of show you my what books fit what prompts and if I can get bingo, if not multiple times. So yeah, this is what's filled in so far with Parasite, and I'll tell you as I read the books if they fill any of the prompts in the bingo. So yeah, next time I talk to you will be when I finish Butterfly Lampshade. Hello everyone. So we have reached the end of the vlog. I just wanted to let you know the books that I've read and also just to kind of give you an update on what I was able to finish in Summerween. So it is Friday, July 9th. Yeah, so technically Summerween is officially over. And I just wanted to go over the books that I read and also just to kind of give you an update on if I was able to finish everything that I wanted to finish. So, I was able to finish Parasite, which I had told you I gave 5 stars. It was a really amazing like sci-fi horror that was actually a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Like I had described before, it was a bunch of like short stories that took place in different stations in like the galaxy and how humanity was able to cope with this parasite, this Semitic parasite that was taking over humanity basically, that was killing everyone. And it was a lot better than I was expecting. I honestly wasn't expecting much. I didn't really know what to expect. So it blew my mind. I gave it a 5 out of 5, absolutely. And then the second book that I read for the majority of this vlog was Lisey's story. Now, that was I was hoping that it would be really good, and it definitely soared to above what I was expecting as well. I also gave that one 5 out of 5 stars. I actually am going to be having a kind of podcast like episode that's going to be coming out probably in a few days after this vlog comes up. It's basically just me explaining in great detail everything that I thought for the story. And if you're interested in finding out like very specific details about the story, what I thought about them, then please check out that video. I believe it's going to be called Book Review Lisey's Story by Stephen King. It does have a lot of graphic language. It has some talk about rape, abuse, mature language definitely. So if any of that kind of bothers you, please don't listen to it. Not the whole thing is like that, but there are some spots that are very graphic in what I'm describing and what happened in the story and like why I thought that it was important to even mention them. And I also want to make sure that if there's stuff like that in a book that I've read and that someone's interested in reading, I want to make sure that they know that stuff is there. So if any of that bothers you, then please don't listen to it. But if you're okay with any of that, or if you won't be bothered too much by listening to it, then please check it out. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. I have been told by a few people that have listened to it already that I actually sound really good for like a podcast voice. So if you're interested in it at all, please check it out. Again, I gave that book 5 out of 5 stars. I also read something that wasn't technically part of Summerween, that was actually part of Sci-Fi July, which I had mentioned in a previous clip, that I have like this bingo sheet that I'm trying to fill, and some of the prompts actually worked out for a graphic novel. And so I read The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys, which is a graphic novel that was recommended to me by my friend Robbie. I finally was able to get my hands on it when I went to New York City, and I finally read it yesterday. I thought it was okay. I thought the art was beautiful. I loved the art in it. And there were some things that they described or like kind of traits of this human race that I thought was really interesting, the story. Like, for instance, there are these things called vamps that I think you could be alive or dead to become a vamp. Basically, it's these masks that look like vampires. And when you have the mask put on you, you see everything in black and white. And you also, like, anyone that you look at looks like a horrific monster. Like, for instance, they use an example of this one girl had her like a mask put on her, and she saw like her loved one, and instead of seeing him, she saw this like giant spider that was like really ugly, and it was speaking to her, and she wanted to kill it. And so it kind of gives you like a bloodlust of like trying to fight monsters basically, but you are the monster. I thought that was really interesting, and there were some really cool topics about electricity and about androids, and I don't know, there was some really cool aspects to it, but overall I thought the story was kind of rushed, and I also thought that it like didn't really touch on a lot. Like you kind of inferred the plot, and you kind of inferred like things that have happened, and they might show it in a scene, and by scene I mean like 2 or 3 panels in the comic. So I kind of wish that they had gone more in detail with it, but I mean, for a comic that's literally only this long, and it's not that long, honestly. It's 6 chapters. So for a comic this long, they did a really good job with like really giving you a whole story. But I just kind of wish it was longer. And I actually found out that there is going to be a second kind of like prequel comic book coming out. That's The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys National Anthem. I believe that comes out on July 20th. So I'm definitely interested in picking that up to see if like maybe that will fill in what I'm missing from this one. I'm not really sure. Either way, I ended up giving this one 3 stars. Like I said, it was pretty good. It just didn't really do a lot for me. And I just saw some of like there were just some gaps that I wasn't like super interested in. But the final book that I had read for Summerween was The Butterfly Lampshade by Aimee Bender. It was a book that was on my TBR, so this is actually technically the first book that I've read that's on my TBR. And yes, it's the 9th of July and it's the only one I've read, so it's a little I'm definitely having some struggles with this month's TBR. But I am almost done with it. I technically have like 30 pages left, so I'm going to call it a success for Summerween. Honestly, I don't think that there's going to be too much that's going to happen over the next 30 pages that's going to like really earth shatter, like, nothing that's going to like really change my mind on what I feel about this book. And honestly, I didn't really enjoy it too much. I had a lot of hopes for it going in with kind of this like psychological aspect of this girl that eats a butterfly and feels like she's unraveling. Like her mind is unraveling, and she kind of compares herself to her mother, who has a lot of like psychotic episodes, and has even described before she went completely insane that she had felt like a bug was inside of her. And so I guess her daughter, seeing a butterfly in a cup of water, was like, I want to be like my mother. And so she drank the cup. But the thing is, she so like it's not just the fact that she drank a bug, it's that this butterfly came from this lampshade, from her babysitter. And there was a bunch of like butterflies on this lampshade, and one of them apparently had come off the lampshade and went into the water, and it wasn't just paper, it was like actually real. And they also described this cockroach, or not a cockroach, like a beetle that was on a this like kid's homework assignment that she like grabbed off the ground. I guess there was a beetle on the paper, and then like later on in the story you find out that the beetle is no longer on the piece of paper, that it was dead in her backpack. And I thought that at first I was like, ooh, that's really interesting. I wonder how they're going to like portray that, but it wasn't really that interesting. Like I thought the plot was kind of lacking. Like I didn't really understand the point of a lot of things that they were talking about. I thought the narrative was really confusing. Like not that I didn't understand what they were saying, but that it just didn't make any sense on why they did it that way. Like they would mash together two different people's conversations in one paragraph. Like instead of having separate paragraphs or separate lines for the characters that are speaking to each other, they're just like one giant paragraph that would take up the entire page, and it would be like this person says this, and then immediately like the next sentence is the next person's like quotation. And you have to like kind of be paying attention to know who is talking to who. Like it kind of makes sense because the girl usually has like very clipped, very short sentences that she says, but for the most part it's just weird. Like it's like, uncomfortable to read. Like it doesn't really make much sense. And honestly, it goes back and forth, kind of like in Lisey's story, how it goes back and forth between the past and present. It does that a lot in this book too, but this is like the example of what it's not good to do that kind of thing for. Like Stephen King does it in a really fluid way, and that it makes sense like why he's going back and forth with like the memories. But in this story, it doesn't make any sense why she's going from like, I don't know, she's going from like the present, but then she's remembering the train ride that she went on, and there might be like a chapter or two that talks about like what's going on the train ride, and then all of a sudden she's back at her apartment, her adult self. And like it, I guess it kind of makes sense and like why she's having these memories like this, but it still was like very disjointed and jarring, and not really easy to read, not really fun to read, to be honest. I only ended up reading all of it because I'm wondering if like the very end is going to be this like earth-shattering, like twist that I wasn't expecting, but I honestly don't think it will be. If it is, I'll tell you in my wrap-up or in a future video, but honestly, it just is not really an interesting book. I'm probably going to be giving it 2 stars out of 5, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know. It kind of disappointed me more than I was expecting it to. But yeah, that is it. So I ended up reading 3 books for Summerween, and I've already technically read 2 books for Sci-Fi July. Here is the bingo sheet for Sci-Fi July and where those 2 books filled in certain prompts. And I'm hoping that throughout this month I'll be able to like fill in a few more prompts. It's just for fun. It's just to kind of add on. I know I technically have a really long TBR already, but I just wanted to have this for fun because I don't know, it just seems interesting. The next book that I'm going to be reading actually will be filling in some of the prompts. It's the First Become Ashes by K.M. Spara, which is another book that's on my TBR. It is considered a sci-fi technically, so I'm going to be counting it for a few more prompts on the bingo sheet. And so yeah, that'll be the next book that I read, and hopefully I'm going to be able to keep myself on track with this TBR for the rest of the month. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had a good Summerween. Please let me know if you've taken part in anything with it. If you've read any scary books or watched any scary movies. And if you're interested in taking part in Sci-Fi July 2, let me know what kind of books you want to read, what kind of sci-fi movies you're going to watch, what kind of tropes you really like with sci-fi. You know, if you like the horror, the psychological, the aliens, like, please let me know in the comments down below, like, if there's anything about that you really enjoy. And yeah, the next video or the next vlog that you'll see, I probably will be taking part in a few more books for Sci-Fi July and just kind of trying to finish this really crazy TBR. So thank you for watching. Please like this video if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.